Is there a specific trauma or challenge that you faced that you feel that you would be able to share?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I got pregnant when I was in high school. So no one in my high school knew.
How
I
old were you?
was 16.
Yeah.
I was the, reigning Miss Houston at the time. And then, on the heels of that, when I went to college, I got raped. And so it was this other thing where I didn't go to the human health services or whatever, the counselor or anything. It was, oh my God, this must have been my fault. And then so it was shame on top of shame.
I am going to scream from the rooftops.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it when it's so uncomfortable for people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it because it's so uncomfortable for people.
Look, you are talking to the CEO of Huge Pussy, and I went to 3 different states to get that name. I've got so much experience that I want to share with other moms. And so much, information too, where if I was to go back in time and be able to counsel myself, that assurance that you're not broken, that you didn't do anything wrong, that your body is not wrong. Oh my God, I just wish that was the case.
You have a mug with the huge pussy.
I so have a mug. I meant to bring a mug.
I would like to drink out of a huge pussy mug.
I'm telling you, when you start your day with that huge pussy mug,
something happens.
There.
FYI,
Yeah.
as soon as we sit down here, everything is going on tape.
Yeah, I got it. That's how I do mine too.
Okay.
So let's see.
And Andy's shaking his head at me like, don't tell them. Is there a name for when you were posting all your videos, is there a name for your brand?
Podcast?
Yes.
So my podcast is called Clitorology.
Clitorology. That's it. In my head, I was like, vagina something.
Yeah, Clitorology.
No, I'm like, Clitorology.
Yeah, Clitorology is the
Clitorology.
podcast.
You're great. I always do color, but it's like, but black looks really good on you.
I almost did red.
Yeah.
And then I left it hanging outside.
Yeah. I almost never do red because finds it threatening. No, I'm kidding. Today, my guest is Jacqueline Buck. No, I'm going to mess your name up. Because you know what's funny? In my head, I always picture how to spell your name with C-Q-U.
Yeah, it is.
And so then in my head, I've just got C-Q-U in my head when I'm saying your name. And I'm like, Jack.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
Hi, my name's Anushka DeGiorgio, and welcome to the Empowered Exchange podcast. Today, my guest, Jacqueline Buckingham, is an incredible woman who's done so much to advocate for women's sexual health. She has an amazing podcast called Clitorology and also a show called The Box, and we're going to find out all about it. She's my friend, she's an incredible person, and I'm so looking forward to having her on the show. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi, Anushka.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited about your podcast. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like, it's about time. What have you been doing? Why haven't you done this sooner?
I've been trying to cope with life, as many of us have. I think
we have. This is why I brought my emotional support dog today.
I love it. I love it. Everybody should have an emotional support, tiny little cowboy dog.
Everyone needs a 2.5-pound cowboy. Yeah,
at least one.
At least one.
I was thinking earlier about when I first met you, and I think the first time I met you, you came to my house with a mutual friend of ours, and you're a striking woman.
Thank you.
And this mutual friend of ours is known for surrounding himself with powerful, striking women.
Yeah.
But there was something about you because you were powerful, but you were so sweet at the same time. And I feel as though sometimes Los Angeles can make people hard, and they can make them not really girls, And the first thing I noticed about you is you're a girl's girl.
Yes, I am. I am. Yeah. I'm glad that came through. Thank you.
It totally did. And the more I've gotten to know you, the more I really appreciate that and also see that that's really authentic.
Yeah.
And it's something that I try to be myself. I love women, and through my own journey of becoming an advocate for women and also going through my own journeys of overcoming challenges.
Yeah.
I really realize what the power is in connecting with women. And we think that we want a man to support us, and that's what society conditions us to, is where's the guy to back me up? But the truth is, and my experience is, if you have a good bunch of gals,
oh yes,
that's kind of all you need.
it's true. I mean, I feel so strongly about that. And we have been conditioned in so many ways to be suspicious of each other and not give each other the benefit of the doubt. And that's just been baked into society for so long. It's one of the things I would love to see change in my lifetime is to see women give other women the benefit of the doubt just organically.
Yeah.
And actually that we take a note from the boys club and really kind of do more what they do in terms of giving each other a leg up and, hey, bro, hey, chief, let's do this.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, like there are expressions now, just when you're saying that, I know there are expressions like men will call each other bro or chief or buddy. And I'm like, what do women call each other?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because I hear a lot of women call each other bitch.
Yeah.
As if that's a compliment.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
And if somebody does that to me, even if I know that their intention is good, I tell them that I prefer not to address each other like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Language is such a powerful medium because it's all about meaning. Right? It's to call a woman a bitch for some people is like, oh, they love that. But it's different for all of us. That's what my product line is about too. It's changing the meaning of pussy from something that is inherently weak to something that is what it actually is, which is, the place we all come from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel, when I first started seeing your videos come out, I was like, ooh, this is a bit avant-garde, and as an English person, even though I've been here a long time, and even though I'm an advocate for women and for women's sexual health and for recovery from sexual trauma, I still come from where I come from, and I have this thing inside me that sort of bristles because of this conditioning.
Absolutely.
When I hear the word pussy, when I hear the word clitoris, when I hear the word anything to do with a woman's anatomy.
Yeah.
And this also relates to stopping sexual abuse.
Yes,
where
it does.
You have to call your anatomy the real name of the anatomy.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm all for knowing all of the real names and also neutralizing the words that have been used in a negative connotation and really just owning those words, neutralizing them so they're not so, one, objectifying and they don't have that like, let me put female sexuality in a place that is dirty and debased, but in a place where it's like, it is what it is. That's what has, been so pervasive in our society is for men, it's this heroic thing, whereas for women, it is you are a slut for at least in sex. And then when you get around to, medical, everything from, not having the research to not being able to ask our doctors things about our just general health.
Yeah, or feeling uncomfortable. And I feel as though there's the slut shaming, but there's also, women's reproductive area is it either has to be thought of as weak or cute.
Yes. Or just for reproduction only. Like, God forbid we talk about we have some pleasure. Exactly. And that's one of those words too that some people kind of bristle at that word. And I think it's just because it is still new to us. I mean, really, it was in our lifetimes, since we're birthday twins.
Yes, we are.
It was in our lifetimes where, a woman would have to bring her husband to the bank to open up a bank account. That was in our lifetimes. That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
So really it hasn't, there's so many things where you feel like, okay, we're making such headway, but my belief is we need to make a quantum leap. And I think the ticket to that is, one, owning our sexuality and supporting each other. Truly, like truly, like as if you were supporting your own daughter.
Right.
I feel like that's how we need to be with each other.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a more universal problem than even just, this is a huge problem, but the greater problem is we see other people as separate, as different, as, you know, your children are not as important as my children, or
right.
It's a race thing, it's a sex thing, it goes across the board.
Yeah.
And we need to start understanding that we are tribal and we need each other. And just because it's not
true.
my turn to be discriminated against right now, it could be tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's my job to stand up for your rights and anyone else's rights whose rights are being infringed.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So I want to hear about, because I just started seeing you sort of splash onto my screen with all these amazing insights and interviewing different people regarding women's sexual health, the way that women are regarded in the world, the way that pleasure is regarded for women.
Yeah.
And how did that start for you? What spearheaded that for you?
I think it was actually going to my own gynecologist. And I had asked her, this was a few years ago, so I knew I was heading into that perimenopause place. Talked to my mom about her own journey. She said she had started hormones and they were so positive for her. So I just went in for my kind of routine pap smear. And speaking of words people don't like, and I said, so here's kind of what's going on, and I'm having these symptoms, and I'd love to learn more about hormones. And it was as if I had asked for methamphetamine.
Really?
It was truly like as if I asked her for the most illegal substance that's out there. This was a female, and I was met with, we don't do that here.
What?
Like, I was like, oh, okay, well, is there someone I can see? And she was like, almost kind of like quiet, like, there was one lady, but she moved to Florida. And it was like, wait, what? Why is this a weird thing? Why is it a bad thing? And since then, I've learned a lot about the Women's Health Initiative, which was 20 plus years ago now, when hormones got that bad name and got associated with causing breast cancer.
Right.
And there's episodes, especially the one with Dr. Sharon Malone, who's also been on Oprah. She is, I feel like she is the person who really debunks all of the myths and makes it very understandable. So I think that was a part of it, was like, wait, hold on. I'm at one of the top medical centers in the world. Like here I am in this Beverly Hills office, and I can't ask this question without... And it was such a, yeah, exactly. And it was like, well, okay, why is this weird? Why is this a topic that isn't completely and totally normal for, at this point I was, I don't know, late 40s at this point. So, but even if I was to talk to my doctor in my mid 30s or whatever, it should be known. But yet now I do know that most doctors, most are not taught about menopause, and they don't get any training. And so they're not typically equipped. And that's obviously not the case for all. The doctors who have been on my podcast, I definitely feel like are leading the charge in that area and training other doctors and also helping women become their own advocates, obviously, so we can learn more.
So when you started it, like who was the first person that you interviewed, or the first episode and the first thing?
The first person, I was really moved by. This was probably the other catalyst for the podcast. I was really moved by this New York Times article that was called "Half the World Has a Clitoris. Why Don't We Know Anything About It?" And in that article, which is true, and so scientists are being named, and one of the doctors who had fantastic data and quotes was named Dr. Rachel Rubin. And I looked her up and was like, okay, why aren't we all learning from this woman on a daily basis? She was the first call I made. And when she said yes, I was overjoyed. And what was amazing is I put a little deck together about what my goals were with this podcast, and no one said no. Yeah. And that was such a great, it felt like a great support from the universe, if you will, to have that excitement around this topic.
Yeah, it feels like, when doors open like that, I feel like the universe is saying you're going in the right direction, and you're doing something that is not just to support you, but is to support the universe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it was really clear that if I had this experience in a major metropolitan area, then how are other people getting their information? And are we supposed to just kind of go quietly into discomfort, depression, etc., like all of the things that you can be affected by in perimenopause and then in menopause? Should we just not talk about it? And that seems absolutely insane.
Yeah. I saw this clip on Instagram the other day of these three guys who were had these sort of contraptions on that helped them feel what it's like to have period cramps. And they were trying to do the dishes. And then one of the other guys would like press the button to induce the cramps. Yeah. And they were screaming, and they were so, not even labor pain. This is just period.
Just period pain.
Yes. Oh. And there's so much conditioning that we're meant to, and I mean, from my own family system, from my own schooling, of don't talk about it. Yeah. Do not bring it up. It's inappropriate. Yep. It's unpleasant. It's dirty. Yeah. And you're disgusting.
Yeah, and it makes other people uncomfortable. So your body makes other people uncomfortable. Yeah. Which is just a terrible feeling to have.
Yeah, of course. I'm wondering, when through the process of doing your podcast, is there anything that you, like, what did you learn from people that you interviewed that you didn't know before?
Oh, everything. Honestly, everything. And now having done 36 episodes, I specifically tried to get different topics. So obviously HRT is a big one, menopause is a big one, perimenopause, but also UTIs. And I had some phenomenal interviews with she's actually not a doctor. Her name's Priyanka Jain. Oh, yes. And she uses, oh my God, she's just brilliant. Anyway, it shone a whole different light on UTIs for me. And because that can be such an issue, and as is endometriosis and periods, period products. One of my dear friends now started a amazing company called Riff Care, which is all hemp-based.
What is it called?
Riff Care.
R-I-F.
Yeah,
Care.
Riff Care.
Riff Care.
Yeah, it's great. It's all period products. They've got like period underwear and female-owned company. Yeah. But there was stuff that I didn't know about period products. Like I had no idea. Right. So it was even things that, how many years I've been using period products, like a long time. Yeah. And every single person, I was learning things. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel with a young daughter, it's just, I'm almost experiencing things for the first time again as I see her entering puberty, and I see the things that I wish someone had told me. Right. The options that are available now. I mean, I didn't know what to do. Right. I mean, also when I first started getting my period, I would pass out every time. Yeah. And nobody explained anything to me, and I didn't understand that there was anything. I certainly wouldn't go to a doctor about it.
Right. It's like the last place you would go.
I didn't want to talk to my mother about it. So I certainly wasn't going to a doctor, especially because all the doctors were men. Right. Then, you know? Yeah. And that's actually a problem we have. I spent a lot of time in India when I was about 16. Not safe to send your 16-year-old daughter to India, by the way.
Yeah, FYI.
Yeah. And, or to send your 16-year-old daughter anywhere by herself.
Just a note to the moms out there.
Yeah. And because I was there for a couple of months, I really got to see some of the problems that they have still with the culture there. Yeah. With the sexual health. with the lack of access to products, whether that's contraceptives. And they had this system in place, and it was quite a rural area of India. And they had this system in place where they decided they were going to give women contraceptives. So they were going to give them prophylactics. They were going to give them condoms.
Yeah.
But all the men are doctors, and all the doctors are men.
Okay.
And a man is not allowed to talk to a woman about sex. So the man, the male doctor, is giving out condoms to women.
Yeah.
But not telling her what to do with them.
Amazing.
And so they were hanging them above the bed as sort of like, this is, like a talisman of not getting pregnant.
How fascinating.
Yeah.
And really, really fascinating.
And what a waste of time.
Absolutely.
And also the women were thinking, and as is common for women, and also the men were telling them, oh, well, you've got this talisman from the doctor, so it's not working, you're still getting pregnant, clearly it's your fault.
Absolutely. And that, I think, is such probably the biggest problem, is thinking that our biology is to be faulted. I mean, if you look at it, biologically, we are miraculous, right? Our systems are miraculous. Our respiratory system is miraculous. And you look at the reproductive system, obviously, that's a miraculous thing. And so all of those things come from this process, right? And yet we're supposed to be embarrassed about it. It's nuts to me. It's just crazy. But, I was in that place as a teenager. That was definitely one of the major things that I, probably led me into this work at an early stage. And you just look at how all of that discomfort and pain and trauma comes from just lack of talking about things, just making things normal. That's my point on the podcast, is really just like, let's get more comfortable with all of these terms. And let's know as much as possible.
I mean, even the attitude around breastfeeding, when I had my daughter, in Europe, we have a much more healthy, I think, attitude around nudity. Less so in England, but in Europe, in France, in Italy. Being naked does not mean that you're going to have sex.
Right.
It just means that that's the comfortable thing to do at the time, or that's the appropriate thing to do because of the weather or whatever, or because you're breastfeeding. And so, when I started breastfeeding my daughter, I realized that people were very upset in public settings.
Sure.
I went to a restaurant in the Valley, and my daughter was maybe 2 months old, and I took down my top to start breastfeeding her. And it was the middle of summer. It's probably over 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And this male server ran out with a woolen blanket. And he said, do you need this? And I said, what for? And he said, well, I thought maybe you'd like to cover her up. And I said, I don't think she wants to wear a woolen blanket while she's eating. Would you like to wear a woolen blanket on your head while you're eating?
Yeah. In 100 degrees.
In 100 degrees. Or in any setting, really.
Sure.
And I was pretty upset about it. And there was another situation it was probably the first outing I'd had. and I'd had mastitis. I was really engorged. I had a lot of milk. And I took my daughter out to Melrose Cafe, the Fred Siegel Cafe that we met at, actually.
Yes.
And I was sitting there, and my friend was coming, and she doesn't have children. And, this was a big thing for me. This was my first outing with my baby. I'd also pumped, so I had milk with me. and so then she said, I'm going to be late. And I'm like, oh God, So she wakes up, I start feeding her, and then she goes back to sleep. And then she wakes up again. I give her the bottle. She goes back to sleep. My friend's still not there. Finally, she wakes up again. I start feeding her. She goes back to sleep. But as she's going back to sleep and she delatches, I'm looking, there were a couple of businessmen in like suits. And suddenly one of them his face is all wet. And he's going like this. And I'm going like this. And I'm thinking, why is his face wet? There must be like a leak. So my daughter had delatched and my breast milk was shooting onto his face in this very, very fine stream.
No.
And this, here comes the shame part.
I love this.
Here
I want to
the
see
shame
this
part,
like
okay?
in slow-mo.
It was so amazing.
Oh.
But the shame part for me, as soon as I realized it was me, my instant reaction was, I have to pretend it's coming from the ceiling too. So I look up and I was like, I think it's falling on me too. And I was mortified.
Oh
if only he'd known. I mean, maybe he would have liked it. We don't know.
My God. Yes.
You know,
yeah. I'm going to go with yes
Right.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I didn't know that you weren't the only one who was shooting things from across the room. I was too. Yeah. I had way too much.
So much milk.
And double breast infections.
Right. Yes.
Oh my God. It was
terrible.
So painful. Yeah. Painful.
And even, you know, when I had my daughter, God, we're going into so many things now. I get carried away. But when I had my daughter, you know, I was in the hospital one night and then I didn't know what to do with her. I mean, my body knew what to do, but the nurses weren't kind or instructive. I think they showed me once how to put the diaper on. And then I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm a little bit tired. Can you show me again? And she's like, you'll figure it out. And I was like, oh my God, oh my gosh. But yes to all these things, right?
Yeah.
How do we normalize talking about women's health, women's sexual health, women's anatomy, hormones? The hormone thing is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's
We're
crazy.
basically ruled by hormones. Like they're the boss.
Like imagine
in life.
Men will, you know, when I talk to men about it, I'm like, imagine that you're going to be drugged with a really intense drug. Okay.
Yeah.
And like an acid trip, but you don't know when.
You don't know
You don't
when.
know, and you don't know how much, and you don't know how long it's going to last.
Right.
And then when you're in it, you don't know that's what's happened.
Right.
So, and that's what it's like just being a woman with PMS.
Like all the time.
Let alone go into perimenopause and
Right.
starting to feel these, like, the rage, the sadness,
Yeah.
the paranoia,
Yeah.
the lack of self-esteem, you know, all not based on real events, really.
Right.
You know? So super crazy and super important that we start helping people and letting women know what's available to them.
Absolutely.
And that, no, we have come so far with the hormone treatments. No, you know, you can get bioidentical hormones. You can be supported hormonally in a way that you get to feel like you used to feel, or even better.
Yeah. Exactly. Just not horrible.
One of the things that I learned about hormone treatments is testosterone is the happy hormone.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of more commonly acknowledged that testosterone is a male hormone.
Yeah. And more around aggression.
Right. And that, you know, but women have testosterone. Women need testosterone.
We do.
And we need it for all kinds of things. We need it to feel happy. We need it to feel sex drive. We need it to feel motivated in our work.
Muscle tone.
Muscle tone.
Even cognitive functioning.
And I find a lot of women that I talk to who are, you know, right in that age range.
Yeah.
They're not sure what's going on. They just feel down.
Yeah.
And it's testosterone.
Yeah. It is.
You know?
It is. That made a huge difference for me.
And all the different ways that you can have these hormones. I mean, you know, there are patches, there are shots, there are implants. There are all these different opportunities.
There are.
And you have to try out things.
That is true. The hormone thing is, it would be so nice if it was just easy.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because now we have so many products and so many options.
Yeah.
Whether it's for estrogen and it's, hold on.
Cowboy.
We're doing a,
The dog is having a hormonal issue right now.
yes, he has a puppy, so he's got hormones.
He's not hormonal yet.
But whether it's the spray, the cream, the patch, right? There's so many
the
different
cream,
things. Or pellets with testosterone. And there's really so many different options. And it is kind of a trial and error thing. And so then we do kind of have to tune in more to our bodies, which I think is a great thing, because most of us have been telling our bodies to kind of like quiet down.
Right.
And it's almost like we have to get to this place in life and go, oh, now I'm going to dial that volume up a bit so I can really listen to my own body, because no one can really tell you.
Right, totally. And I think that's part of the battle, and the thing that I advocate for, that you advocate for, is also don't let a doctor tell you what's right for you.
No.
Ask questions. I find also, especially doctors in Los Angeles, there's a time window that they have allocated to you, and
Sure.
you're in a room, and if you ask the same question more than once, or if you say you don't understand, I feel like there can be this slight irritation of like, I told you what I think, now, take it. And I would just say, whether it's for the birth of your child or hormones or your regular OBGYN, appointment, just ask questions. And I don't give a damn what they think.
No.
I'm going to keep asking and say, no, I'm not clear about that.
Exactly.
I need you to explain it again in a different way.
Yeah.
And I also want to know what the side effects are. Not whether you think you know the side effects and you think this is good for me.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me what the possible outcomes are.
Yeah.
That
relationship, I think, is fraught. Basically, the patient-physician relationship. We've been so used to really, I have nothing to, like, this domain belongs to you. You get to tell me everything, what to do with this, but I'm the one who sleeps with it and, has all the systems. Yeah. And I feel like that has everything to do with us becoming more aware and taking ownership of all of our systems, whether it's our endocrine system with our hormones, and also the emotional part, though, too. And that has everything to do with this shame piece that's been so inherent in being a woman, period, from the beginning.
Yep, totally. So where can people see clitorology?
Oh, on wherever you get your podcasts. It's on all of them.
So it's on YouTube. It's on...
Yeah, YouTube. Okay. We shoot it like a show like you do.
Yes.
And so you can watch it on YouTube, but on Apple Podcasts, on iHeart, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Great.
It's there, for sure.
And so what's next? What's your next thing?
Next thing is actually taking what we've been talking about. I've been writing a book about women and our roles and our rules. And essentially, I'm, a mom. I've been a mom for 30 years. And my daughter just went off to college this past fall. So for the first time in 30 years, I don't have a kid at home. And we have so many different identities as women, as girls. And some of them I think are positive, but other ones are not so positive. Right. And that's what this book is about. It's really about exploring these roles and exploring the rules. And then for those of us who have gone through trauma, and I'm going to say that's most of us. Most women across the board. There's a way of taking that trauma and turning it into something else. So taking kind of that old identity that is associated with whatever trauma one went through and actually turning it into a positive. And I've been working on it myself, and there's an art component to it. So you actually have like a takeaway that's like, oh, right, this is who I am. Right. And I can also be all of these other things, but it's very powerful. I feel like it's very powerful. And there's so much that gets put onto us as mothers, as you know, like, oh, you're a mom now, so you shouldn't want anything. You should just want it all for your kids. And then when your kids leave, right, we're constantly going through these different cycles.
Yeah. And honoring the loss that is involved. I feel as though there's so many cycles of loss for women.
There are. Oh my God.
First of all, there's the loss of being a child as you move into adolescence.
Yeah.
And then as you move through either trauma or just the natural progression of being an adolescent and becoming a sexual being, then there's the loss of innocence.
Right.
And then I feel as though there's, just as you discover a little bit about who you are, then if you become a mother, then there's the loss of self.
Absolutely.
Because your identity is then,
Absolutely.
I am not a mother and other things. I am just a mother.
That's right.
You know, I am basically owned by this being.
Yeah.
And if you have a partner, then also you're obliged to fulfill that role also.
Right.
But you know, and then as you go through the losing your fertility.
Yeah.
And the huge emotional burden of that. And some
Absolutely.
people actually find it to be a relief.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It's true.
It wasn't for me. It hasn't been for me. It's been more of a loss.
Yeah.
And then I think, and then your children leaving, you know?
Yeah. And
So
all of those
many
are
losses.
different touch points, right? They are losses. And I think you can also look at them as gains too, right? I'm letting this thing go. I'm inviting this thing in.
Right.
And that's what I've been writing about,
Yeah.
because I don't want to say, you know, that the losses aren't important. They are. I feel like they're really worth acknowledging. But I also don't want to wallow in them, right? And just be like, I am so sad now that my kids are gone, or that my period is over, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like we're actually, you know, in like the phase where we become wiser.
Right.
And that just has not been talked about. Our inherent wisdom, right? Our intuition, the more kind of subtle bodied energies, honestly, that we just normally have, but we've been so encouraged to shut them down. Totally. And that has everything to do with going into the doctor's office, or who you're really identifying yourself as. And if it's not as a mom, or if it's not as, you know, a reproducing woman, you know, what is it? And there are these different identities, and all the identities that I talk about, they're all like made up names, you know, it's like a descriptor and a word. So whether it's a cosmic cowgirl or a, you know, a bodacious beast, it's like it's up to the person to decide what they want out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about being in a new phase and inviting new things in.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you talk about a loss not having to just be a loss.
Yeah.
I think it's in acknowledging our loss or our grief around losing something that then you get the opportunity to reframe it and to see an opportunity to invite something else in.
Absolutely.
You know, which can be so powerful.
It's true. It's true. I've been thinking about that a lot with my daughter leaving, because I miss her so much. Like, I miss her in my cells.
I can't even imagine.
Oh, and
I
can't
even imagine it right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. You can't. And then it happens and you're like, oh my God, that is over. Like that period of time is over.
Yes.
And then I thought, you know, I've got so much experience that I want to share with other moms. And so much, you know, information too, where if I was to go back in time and be able to counsel myself as the young woman who was struggling at 16, at 18, oh my God, right? To be able to go back and give yourself that assurance that you're not broken, that you didn't do anything wrong, that your body is not wrong. Oh my God, I just wish that was the case. And so I want to take that and be able to use it, honestly. Have other women, other girls be able to go, oh yeah, let me take a piece of that. And that's why I'm writing the book, and that's why I'm offering the courses too, because then that way I can get feedback and be like, how, you know, how's this working for you?
I'm so excited for that. I'm really looking forward to it. And when you do have the book, I'd love for you to come back on and talk about it more.
Yeah, I'd love to. In the book, I talk about the traumas that I went through, especially as a teenager. And since they did happen at such a young age, those are the kind of shames that like stayed with me throughout, and definitely has catalyzed my work. But so I'm grateful for them.
Is there a specific trauma or challenge that you faced that you feel that you would be able to share?
Yeah, definitely. I got pregnant when I was in high school, so no one in my high school knew. I was 16.
Yeah,
I was the reigning Miss Houston at the time, and was straight A's and honor roll and all of that. And so no one would have expected that. Right. And no one obviously knew. And I, told my long-term boyfriend that I was with, and I told my parents, and I was very torn about what to do. And I had that option, so I feel like I was in a great position to be able to tell my parents.
Okay.
I mean, it took a lot of courage for me to do it. I was scared. I was especially scared to tell my dad. I knew my mom would be supportive if I had decided to keep that child. And, I didn't. I chose to have an abortion. But it was, kind of made known to me, okay, this happened. We don't talk about it anymore. And being somebody who's really sensitive, I felt like I was going to hell. I felt like I was eternally damned. And if I think about just like the weight of that and just kind of like, oh, well, it happened. Okay, now we don't talk about it.
Right.
It's like, oh, no. We got to talk about it.
Yeah.
We got to talk about it a lot.
Yes.
And then, on the heels of that, when I went to college, I got raped. And so it was this other thing where I didn't go to the human health services or whatever, the counselor or anything. It was, oh my God, this must have been my fault.
Right.
And then, so it was shame on top of shame.
Yeah.
And what is that, right? It's just, it's heavy, it's deep. And if I could do something to help another girl or woman alleviate that shame, oh my God, absolutely. Like that is most definitely my mission, because I really didn't need to go through life with all of it. It's like, it's so common to all of us.
Well, I think just sharing about it, just saying that happened to you, that happened to me.
Exactly.
And I'm so sorry for the pain that you experienced.
Thanks.
But I'm also so grateful that you have found a way to navigate through that pain and have victory over that situation so that you can be of service, so that you can be empowered yourself and set an example to women to demonstrate. Because I think so much of what we do as women, we, as mothers too, it's, I think I've got to tell her how to be my daughter, but I have to be that,
right?
I've
that
got to
perfect,
demonstrate.
Which is so much pressure. But the thing that I've always said to both my kids, my son's now 29, my daughter's 19, I said, look, if I'm guilty of something, which I'm guilty of a lot of things, but it's going to be oversharing.
Right.
But that's because in my experience, having that silence was not helpful. And I really believe in my core that the seeds of shame proliferate in silence.
Absolutely.
But they cannot survive being shared. And when you speak them, that's just right there. It loses so much power.
So it loses so much power.
Right? It's like we keep it all pent up.
I am so done being silent. I am going to scream from the rooftops.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it when it's so uncomfortable for people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it because it's so uncomfortable for people.
Look, you are talking to the CEO of Huge Pussy, and I went to 3 different states to get that name. So, and I know that word, like one of my best friends in the world, she couldn't say it. She was like, I cannot get behind this. And meanwhile, she became my CFO, and she now wears her Huge Pussy t-shirt like while she is jackhammering her,
well,
backyard.
She's jackhammering something.
But I look at her as like such an example of not even being able to say the word and really feeling like it was vile. And she's gone through a lot of trauma and come out the other side, to being someone who so embraces it. And I love seeing that. I really do. I love seeing that. And so all of that censorship.
I have a mug? Do you have a mug with the Huge Pussy?
I so have a mug. I meant to bring a mug.
I would like to drink out of a Huge Pussy mug.
I'm telling you, when you start your day with that Huge Pussy mug,
something happens.
There is something that happens.
Something freaking
I
happens.
didn't wake up one day and go, I'm going to make products with Huge Pussy. I made them for me.
Yeah.
I really did. And because I had a son and a daughter, and I was like, how can I have these 2 people and say, hey, son, your parts are associated with pride and courage. But daughter, your parts are associated with shame and vulgarity. And so how can we expect those two people to have equal opportunities. We really can't. And so I had written a new definition for pussy, which was
amazing.
Otherworldly, orgasmic, resilient, flexible, life-giving humanity vessel.
That's amazing.
And that's on the side of the mug.
Well,
And
I
you look
cannot
at
wait to drink out of my mug. I cannot wait to read your book, to have you back when you have the book. And thank you for bringing the huge pussy energy today
Absolutely.
and sharing it with me.
Absolutely.
I love you very much.
I love you very much.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much.